Hello everybody, it is Wesley MK here, back with another commentary video after a very long time I gotta say. But I am very happy to be back, and today's video is going to be quite the special one, no pun intended. I'm going to be discussing the thought process behind 99 specials and all the different testing that we went through to finally make it possible. Overall, it took us around 5 months to finally get the right solution, and when I say 5 months, I do not mean 5 months of straight grinding to finally make it work, because that would have been absolute hell. I just mean it was a 5-month time period of us trying out different ideas and finally figuring out the right one. So, before the video begins, I recommend grabbing some popcorn, lying back, and getting ready for a lot of explaining. So I'd say the idea first came up around early August when we had just finished recording 99 kills. I wanted to test something out with a new special counter Nintendo had added, but obviously I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. So first me and my good bud Space did some testing, and we concluded two things. 1. Slopes result in more ink coverage, and 2. The reef is a godly map. So, with this knowledge, we managed to get 77 specials using a bunch of special charge up, jumping, and the 5-minute overtime strategy. We made one huge mistake, however, and that was not factoring tenacity into the equation. And I know what you're probably thinking. There's no way tenacity could have made that much of a difference, but trust me, you'd be surprised. As I said, we did a lot of testing, and using a pure special charge up set with 1 main of tenacity was one of the tests. We went from having 77 specials to 92 specials like it was nothing, and we had used the same exact strategy as before. This was the gear that I used on the screen. The only problem was, we found ourselves stuck from there. We could never seem to get past 92 specials, even though we had seemingly tried everything. At this point, there was only one solution left, and that was to give up and try again next month. So here we are again next month, still unbelievably confused as to what we should do. It took us a while, but we finally managed to come up with a few things. The first one was that the team that was losing gains a very small amount of points to their special each second. I know this may sound insignificant, but it's actually very useful. The second idea was that the person on my team could continuously kill themselves to help give me a small boost to my special. The third was that we could stop the tower in overtime at a place where all 4 people in the enemy team could still cover my ink. I know this may sound like a lot, but I'll cover it more in detail. The way that we handled the first idea was having Space from the enemy team hop on the tower real fast and then quickly going back to cover my ink. This was fairly easy as long as he could dodge my deadly splashdowns, of course. The second idea was also pretty easy. I would just have the person on my team kill themselves until I called them. For those of you that are confused as to how tenacity works, I will display this very simple equation on the screen. The final part was probably the most difficult as the timing for getting on the tower was very precise. I can't tell you how many times everything was going so good, and then we just messed up on that final part. Even when things seemed to have been going perfectly, there was still some unpredictable factors that we had to worry about. So after we had finally mastered these new ideas, we decided to implement them in a real match. At this point, it seems like we have everything down. We got the perfect tenacity and special charge-up gear, we got all these cool new strategies, and we all had way more than enough practice. After a few attempts, however, we started to realize that it was impossible to get past 95 specials even when we did everything almost perfectly. At this point, I was really giving up hope. The only other thing that we could do was try out different maps. So, we tried Blackbelly, Humpback Pump Track, Muscle Forge, you name it, but in the end, the Reef was the map that always worked the best. I gave up on testing once again until I revisited this map a few months later where I had made an accidental discovery. In the middle of doing a normal match for 99 specials, I had accidentally thrown a curling bomb and killed somebody on the enemy team. At the same time, however, I noticed how unbelievably fast I got my special. I didn't realize it at the time, but this would be the final factor needed for 99 specials. It took quite a lot of planning to successfully implement this in a real match, but we finally found a way to make it work. This final factor is what led to the following legendary footage. As this match goes on, I will try my best to explain everything that's happening, but just keep in mind that there's a lot of things going on. So first things first, I use 2 curling bombs to get to the center of the map while inking some things along the way. I do this in order to get my special by the time I reach the bridge. My teammate here immediately veers towards the left so he can start killing himself as soon as possible. Once I'm at the end of the bridge, I splash down right here and immediately start to jump and shoot. You'll notice that Space gets on the tower as mentioned before, and you'll also notice one major difference from previous footage, and that's the curling bombs that I'm throwing after each special. And there's a reason why it took so much planning to implement the curling bombs. I had to be able to throw without killing anybody, and also making sure to get good turf coverage from it each time I threw it. If I didn't get enough coverage, I would run out of ink way too early, which also meant that I had to throw away my perfect gear and change it to this extremely trash gear, which extremely hurt me. In order to make sure that I had enough coverage, I had Rob and Jay from the enemy team covering the area it exploded every time. His job was the hardest and probably one of the most important ones. I guess now is also a good time to mention that each person on the enemy team set their sprinklers in certain positions at the beginning of the match. Things stay normal for quite a while until I call my teammate to jump on the tower. I try to do this as last second as possible so I can get the most out of my tenacity. He'll ride the tower until there's about 5 seconds left in the match, and then he'll let space from the enemy team take over. Keep in mind, everybody still inks while all of this is happening. Space hops on the tower to activate overtime, and then my teammate will wait to jump back on when the tower is in the perfect position. As stated previously, the tower is stopped here so Space can continue to cover my ink. It's also important to mention that my teammate brought the tower past 30 in order to activate the enemy team's last-ditch effort ability. This ability gives the user a huge boost to their ink usage and recovery when the enemy team has brought the objective past 30. This is really important because it's much harder for me to get my special now, and it's very easy for me to run out of ink due to the lack of tenacity I get. Last-ditch effort just makes this final stretch a lot easier. At this point, there really isn't much more to say. We've set everything up perfectly, and the only concern now is not running out of ink too early. Now is also a good time to point out that no other mode gives you a full 5-minute overtime, including Clan Blitz. Sadly, there is no such thing as infinite overtime, which would have made this whole process 10,000 times easier and a whole lot less complicated. Ah yes, there's nothing like spending 5 months trying to get 2 little numbers on a video game. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And also don't forget to check out merch link in bio. Hopefully I'll find the time to make more videos like these in the near future. But until then, take care everybody.